Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Today is August the 16th, 2017. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You know, Colin Cowherd has had some guests on his show who have said some things on the air that you, the gambler, need to know about before this Floyd Mayweather-Conor McGregor fight. Right? The first was Randy Couture, MMA legend, a guy who took out James Toney in less than 2 minutes when that boxer dared get in the octagon. Right? Now, Randy Couture, in talking about Conor McGregor, and he likes Conor McGregor. Right? He admits that there's some friction toward him from Dana White. But Randy Couture likes Conor McGregor. But in the interview, he talked about how when he looked at Conor on tape, we're talking about Conor, the MMA fighter, that Conor had what he called glaring weaknesses. When pressed by the host, Colin Cowherd, Couture simply said that Conor McGregor on the ground is not the same as he is standing up. Right? Now, let me just say this. I know to the boxing crowd, Conor McGregor has joined the sport as an MMA champion. Right? Someone big in MMA. But be aware of the fact that Conor McGregor has 3 losses in MMA. Right? He has 3 losses in MMA. You know, it's possible that Conor McGregor has left MMA, right, where, as Paulie Malignaggi, another guest of Colin Cowherd's show, noted, isn't governed by the Muhammad Ali Act. Right? In other words, MMA fighters don't have the legal protections that boxers do. It's a newer sport. Right? Some of these legal protections take time to be put in place. Right? I believe it's completely possible that Conor McGregor understands that this is about as good as it's going to get for him in MMA. He doesn't want to go the route of Ronda Rousey. Have one match too many where you lose some of your status. Right? He doesn't want to be Holly Holm. Same type thing where you have big wins and then you lose some of the luster because of some losses. Also, if he's looking to continue his career and the weak part of his MMA game is when he's on the floor, I'm guessing he's thinking, why don't I go to a sport where I get to stand up more? A sport where I get more legal protections, where superstars get more money. So, from this seat, speculating. I haven't talked to Conor McGregor. I don't know Conor McGregor. Right? I'm an outsider. I'm not an insider. I'm not even trying to be an insider. Right? From this seat, it looks to me like Conor McGregor might be done with MMA. Right? Randy Couture thinks he is still with Dana White because he might want to go back to MMA. If he goes back to MMA, I'm guessing it would be as an announcer. Right? Fighting's a brutal business. If you're on top of the mountain, if you can draw a crowd, if that crowd treats you as if you're the big man on campus, so to speak, then why would you risk that reputation by continuing the fight when you can get really good money just being a celebrity? Right? So, with that in mind, what I want people to do is to contemplate the impact that reality might have on the Floyd Mayweather fight. Understand, worst case for Conor, he comes out, he gets blown out. He's bouncing off the canvas like a basketball. He's been hit, he's been hurt, he's concussed. The ref looks at him, might start the count, might simply wave off the fight. That's worst case. Right? Let's add a round element to worst case. It's early in the fight. He hasn't even given you 10 good rounds. Right? This isn't the 11th round of Joshua Klitschko, where at that point in the fight you're thinking, hey, if either guy gets knocked out. They've stood their ground for 10 rounds before this one. Right? They've proven their mettle for 10 rounds. Right? Worst case for Conor is he doesn't get to the later part of the fight. Right? He comes in, hand speed gap. Floyd's landing a left hook. That, the Paulie Malignaggi sparring film, looks like he's going to be able to land all day. Right? Go back and look at that film. Let's just say you see Conor's head. It's not moving anywhere, right? It's on his shoulders. It's not tucked or what have you, right? You don't see Conor with a hand like this. You don't get the feeling that Conor is conscious of what could come back on him. Right? Let's say Floyd is landing with regularity. Now let me pause right here and say I know his father. Right? Floyd Mayweather said that his son might not get the stoppage because his son has tender hands. What I want you to do is to think about the opposite, right? I personally feel this fight doesn't go 12. McGregor, if he's in the ring, if he knows that all eyes are on him and that he's hoping to look good enough to get to another blockbuster boxing match, right? Understand, you have a promoter's dream out there, just like you do with Deontay Wilder and Jarrell Miller, right? That sparring story where Miller goes to a hospital after the sparring session. Everyone agrees on that. The Wilder people want you to believe he went to the hospital because he was roughed up in sparring, that he may have had a concussion. The Miller people want you to believe that he had an easy time at sparring, but he was dehydrated because he fought in a hot environment. And he went to the hospital, of course, as a precautionary measure, right? Well, here you have an equally tantalizing story, right? Paulie Malignaggi says he spars for 11 rounds. 11. With Conor McGregor. Malignaggi believes that he won probably 10 of the 11 rounds. Not only that, Malignaggi admits that he wasn't in shape, right? He's a sparring partner. It's not his fight. He's helping out the other guy, right? So you get to the 12th round. You have a moment where Conor lands a good punch. But then Conor, who previously had been deducted 2 points by sparring referee Joe Cortez, right, for rabbit punching and other awkwardness, right? The kind of awkwardness someone who has never fought a pro boxing match would have, right? In the 12th round, Conor lands a good straight right. Then, and it looks this way to me on the film, right? And keep in mind, the film has some glitches. Who knows how much is missing from the film? Conor looks like he has a hand on Malignaggi's head. If you believe the Malignaggi side, Malignaggi's pushed down, right? Of course, after being pushed down, Malignaggi gets up. According to Malignaggi, if it had gone to the scorecards, he wins the fight by 10-2 or something, right? If you believe the Conor McGregor side, Malignaggi was being outclassed for 12 rounds. Right? This footage is just par for the course on what was happening when they were exchanging. Right? Understand, a boxing promoter can have a field day with that. Right? They can have a field day with that. Both Malignaggi and McGregor are very press friendly. Both guys, dare I say, are very well spoken. Right? Could you imagine Malignaggi against McGregor. This is if Conor McGregor looks plausible. Right? Plausible. Against Floyd. Doesn't have to beat Floyd. He just has to convince you that he's a plausible opponent for Paulie Malignaggi. So you'd have the storyline of Malignaggi retired, coming out of retirement to shut up a guy who is claiming he roughed him up in sparring. Right? Malignaggi's from New York City. I'm telling you, and Irish people know this. There is a heavy, let me underline that word, heavy Irish boxing population. Right? A population that loves boxing that's Irish on the East Coast. Right? If Malignaggi and Conor McGregor were to have this fight in New York City or Boston, that's another town. Or if Malignaggi decided to cross the ocean to have this fight in Ireland, the fight would be worth millions of dollars for both of them. So you're Conor McGregor, you're making millions against Floyd. But in the back of your head, you're also thinking, what will it take for me to keep this financial gravy train rolling? Now, everyone seems to assume that Conor McGregor is going to come out and bum rush Floyd, and maybe he will. Because Floyd Mayweather is not a guy who knocks you out in the first, second, or third rounds. Floyd is a guy who's adaptive, reactive. Floyd's reading you like someone reads a newspaper. He has the defensive skills where you bum rush him, he can defend himself. But more importantly, while he's defending himself, he is making a mental note of what you're throwing. He's making a mental note of the gaps between your punches. Right? When he throws this left hand and is unguarded on his left side, how can I position myself so I get leverage on the counter that I throw there? Right? The million-dollar question in this fight, and I'll tell you what I believe the answer is what happens after Conor McGregor comes out and tries to physically maul Floyd Mayweather. Because I get the feeling that's what his game plan is. Right? Same game plan Marcus Maidana had. How did that work out? Do you believe, seriously, that Conor McGregor, with who knows who's in his corner, is going to be a more formidable opponent than Marcus Maidana with Robert Garcia in his corner? By the way, Robert Garcia is Mikey Garcia's trainer. World-class trainer. Fighter with a big punch. Guy who dropped Victor Ortiz. Right? Guy who dropped Adrian Broner. Came out against Floyd twice. Tried to muscle Floyd over by the ropes. How did that work out? Right? Victor Ortiz. Huge puncher. Bigger than Floyd. Ran over to the side of the ring. Had Floyd up against the ropes. Was so desperate to land something that he decided to land the top of his head on a headbutt. Right? Think about it. By the way, the referee for that fight, Joe Cortez, was the same referee for the Conor McGregor-Paulie Malignaggi sparring session. Right? So I'm guessing after Conor McGregor runs out there and tries to physically manhandle Floyd, right? Tries to treat this as a bar fight and not a boxing match. We're going to be in a different part of the fight. In the fourth round, after Floyd survives that onslaught, right? Then Floyd's going to start surgically cleaning McGregor's clock. McGregor doesn't have the boxing skills. He doesn't have the defense. Right? McGregor's going to get hit with some hard shots. I know in sparring, and sparring's different than a real fight. I know in sparring, McGregor has gone 12 rounds with Paulie Malignaggi. You really think that the energy level in sparring was the same as it's going to be in front of a sold-out crowd in the real event when you know the world is watching? So I believe Conor McGregor, for all this talk, and I know the MMA crowd's going to think I'm crazy, so be it. I'll be here after the fight. If I'm wrong, you can tell me about it here. But I believe Conor McGregor, by the 4th round, is going to be in, we'll call it save face mode. He's going to think, you know what? I'm getting tagged with some hard shots. I can't push this to the limit because I could get knocked out in spectacular fashion. And then who's going to want to see me against Paulie Malignaggi? Who's going to want to see me against anyone in a boxing ring? Right? So understand, very embarrassed boxers have an easy way out. It's not easy, but let's just say they have a way out. Sonny Liston against Ali. Quits on his stool. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. against Andres Fonfarga. Quits on his stool. Right? Oscar De La Hoya against Manny Pacquiao. Quits on his stool. Understand too, you can walk away from a fight. You can back out of a fight by claiming an injury, right? Or an inability to continue. Let's say Floyd's landing that left hook with regularity and Conor McGregor is completely busted up. I believe Conor doesn't have enough defense to avoid being busted up. Right? So let's say Conor's face is busted up. Conor could easily say to the ref, I can't see. I'm seeing double. Right? You remember Rocky? The ref holds up fingers and stuff like that. A guy could blow that test. Right? A guy could say, how many fingers is this? I see one finger. Right? But I believe Conor McGregor, at a certain point in this fight, is going to understand there's a skill gap. Right? He's the new guy going up against a big leaguer. Right? I think the offense is going to get damped down. I think he's going to try to be defensive for a while, because he's going to understand every time he extends himself, he's getting hit with hard shots. That's what Floyd does. What I want you to do is to look at the Arturo Gatti bout. Right? Floyd destroys Arturo Gatti. Floyd knew. He knew that he was faster handed than Arturo Gatti, and that Gatti had some weaknesses defensively that he'd be able to exploit. Understand, when a referee sees you getting hit too flush, too frequently, and doesn't think that you have enough to come back in the fight, the ref could step in and stop the fight. Right? Conor McGregor, there's a way out of this fight where Conor McGregor could simply be there trading with Floyd, knowing that the shots Floyd's hitting him with are going to wilt him. Then, of course, you know the game that takes place. Ref steps in to stop the fight. McGregor's going to say, how could you stop this fight? I was in this fight. Forget the fact that the CompuBox numbers show that Floyd's blocking 90% of my shots, and that Floyd's a craftsman. Right? I believe over his career, he's the most accurate boxer in the sport. Right? Let's say Floyd's landing, and again, Conor isn't Pernell Whitaker defensively. right? Let's say Floyd's landing 50% of his shots. Conor McGregor could easily quit by simply knowing he's outgunned and trading with Floyd Mayweather. Right? The idea is simply, I gave what I could, then Conor could show up to the post-fight press conference outraged and say, well, this is boxing. Everyone saw I was robbed. Of course I was ready to go the distance, etc. Right? So, I think Conor McGregor is going to be in save face mode after the third round. Save face mode is not the same as win the fight mode. He's not going to be in there blood and guts, taking big risks to win the fight. I believe he's going to realize that he, at some point, I believe at the start of the fight, he's there to win it. Right? At the start, he'll be there to win it. But after a few rounds, once he realizes that that straight left is not going to land, that straight left's not going to land on Floyd Mayweather. Once he realizes that when he gets inside, like Marcos Maidana did, Mayweather actually has skills inside. Right? Once he realizes that he's getting a little tired and Mayweather is still quicker than him. Once he realizes that he, in his 20s, does not have, let me repeat that, does not have the stamina of Floyd in his 40s, right? He's going to look for a way out that allows him to leave the fight diplomatically, that gives him, let's use a JFK administration term, that gives him plausible deniability. Right? How could the ref stop that fight? I was in the fight. Right? It might even be one of these deals where, let's say Floyd drops him. Yes, I'm expecting McGregor to get hit that flush. Let's say Floyd drops him. You know how a fighter gets off the canvas and the ref says to him, you know, how you doing? Right? Or you okay? Right? And you know those fights where, let's remember Amir Khan, Danny Garcia, where the fighter just looks at the ref, doesn't say anything, right? Doesn't say, I'm all right, or nods his head, or puts his hands up. Let's say the fighter just looks at the ref dumbfounded and the ref stops the fight. That would give Conor McGregor, in my opinion, enough plausible deniability to say, hey man, look, I was looking at the referee. I don't know why the ref stopped the fight. This game's corrupt. Bring on Paulie Malignaggi. Yes, I want 7 figures. Let's have this fight in Dublin, if not Dublin, New York City, Boston, whatever. Anyway, that's how I see it. I know Joe Rogan is out there saying, hey, Conor McGregor is going to get it done. I know the best part of McGregor's game is standing up. I know McGregor is an excellent, puncher from distance. I'll agree, McGregor does hit Paulie Malignaggi with a beautiful straight left hand in that sparring video. I'll agree McGregor does look bigger physically than Floyd Mayweather. I'll agree when they enter the ring, McGregor might outweigh Floyd Mayweather by 20 to 25 pounds. I'll concede all of that. What I want you to remember is this is the sweet science. Right? They've called it that for generations because technical know-how is needed in boxing. The tough guy at the bar who doesn't know about clinching, who doesn't know about turning over his punches, who doesn't know about defense, right? Who doesn't know about hiding his feet, who doesn't know about feinting, who can't snap a jab. He might be the big man at the bar. He's not the big man in the ring. Let me just say, too, boxing history is replete with smaller guys like Sam Langford, the Boston Tar Baby, taking out bigger fighters. Right? That's the history of the sport. right? You think about some of the great heavyweights in history: Mike Tyson, Rocky Marciano, Joe Frazier, Jack Dempsey. They all took out guys bigger than them, right? I think the public thinks this is a bar fight when it's actually a boxing match. And in the ring, quite frankly, Floyd Mayweather, in his prime, didn't have a peer, right? Also, just personalities. And I know Floyd's telling you he's not the man he used to be, and he's 40 years old and stuff like that. I've never seen Floyd Mayweather ever out of shape. I haven't seen the Floyd Mayweather match where Floyd's huffing and puffing and holding on for dear life, looking like he's lacking lung capacity. Understand too, this isn't your typical I'm coming out of retirement fight. This is a boxing match with a guy who's unbeaten, who values that unbeaten record greatly, who knows what happened to Larry Holmes when he was on the verge of dethroning Rocky Marciano. Listen to Mayweather talk. Mayweather has an acute sense of the history of the sport. His conversation is sprinkled with references to people like Sugar Ray Leonard, right? A guy like this is not going to cavalierly come back into the ring out of shape to endanger his unbeaten streak, right? Let me say this too. Freddie Roach talks about how Mayweather has used his gym, the Wildcard Gym in LA, in the past, right? You're kidding yourself if you think Mayweather's on Kimmel in Los Angeles and then is spending the rest of the time hitting clubs, avoiding the gym and stuff like that. No, Mayweather is a professional. Right? Los Angeles has boxing facilities. You can do both. You can spend time in the ring, and you can also visit with Jimmy Kimmel. They're not mutually exclusive. I'm expecting Mayweather to show up in exquisite shape. Exquisite shape. I'm expecting Conor McGregor to figure out by the 4th round that he's not in the ring with Paulie Malignaggi. I believe Malignaggi when he says he was getting the better of Conor McGregor. Malignaggi has an excellent point. If we sparred for 12 rounds, how come you're not releasing film of any of the rounds? How come you're only releasing edited film of just a few seconds of one round? Right? Keep in mind, we have an internet where people can, on their YouTube account here, just like I'm making this several-minute video, someone could say, hey, here's the full sparring session. It hasn't been released. It hasn't been released for a reason. Right? So, I think McGregor, after trying to stop Floyd, just like countless others, right? Victor Ortiz, wasn't that his bright idea? Marcus McDonough, wasn't that his bright idea? After trying to stop Floyd, he's going to then enter a save face mode. I don't think he goes 12. I don't think Mayweather even has to drop him to the canvas to get the stoppage here. Right? How did that first Carl Froch, George Groves fight end? If Mayweather's repeatedly landing combinations without answers, if McGregor is getting hit flush repeatedly, at some point even the announcers are going to say they need to pull the plug here. That's how I see it. I think Mayweather by stoppage remains the best play on the board. It's a 12-round fight, folks. 12. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. By the way, just be aware, Randy Couture is giving Conor McGregor a 10% chance of winning the fight. Now, I know many of you are betting on McGregor. Just understand the way Las Vegas works. Let's say McGregor has a 10% chance of winning the fight. understand you're getting worse odds than that, aren't you? Right? In other words, MMA experts are giving McGregor a 10% chance. Vegas is giving you significantly worse odds than that on the Conor McGregor side of the play. That should tell you something. McGregor's not going to outbox Mayweather. If you believe McGregor is going to win the fight, I believe you necessarily believe McGregor is going to win the fight by stoppage. Right? Don't pay the full freight on McGregor to win when he's in against a master boxer. This is one of those rare opportunities where simply to win might not be the right play. You might want to think about McGregor by KO if you're inclined to pick McGregor. He has no shot, in my opinion, of winning by decision. Right? I believe Floyd closes the show here. I think Floyd wants an exclamation point at the end of his career. I don't believe Floyd has the respect for Conor McGregor that he had for someone like Miguel Cotto, for example, right? Or Canelo. Guys who he knows have, traveled many of the same roads as him, right? Fighting tough guys, etc., right? I think here Floyd sees a dilettante, a charlatan, some guy who's not even a boxer, venturing into his sport thinking that they can swing at the king. Remember what they say, if you swing at the king, you better not miss. I'm expecting McGregor to miss most of the night and then find a way out. Floyd by stoppage, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.